This is Kevin Ashworth with Fighting Fear with Kevin Ashworth. I wanted to do a YouTube video and try and be more flexible about how I and when I do those, so I'm doing one from home today. I am overwhelmed by the response I got from the Art of Manliness podcast, so if you've emailed me, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I was trying to respond to every email, but a lot of people are just saying thank you for the podcast, and thank you for listening and taking the time for doing that. But I did want to address some of the things that came up. Ultimately, people want to know how, in fact, can they do things differently to challenge themselves. I talked a lot about the idea of exposure therapy, and if you didn't watch that or listen to that podcast, please do on the Art of Manliness podcast, or also look at my other YouTube videos. But how do you incorporate exposure therapy into your world? Well, you first have to understand how it functions. So exposure therapy is this idea of behaving differently, that most of us change the way that most of us wait to feel differently to change the way that we think and ultimately change our behavior. So if you're managing social anxiety or post-event rumination, I've had some questions about that, which is this experience of after a social engagement that you're kind of caught up in this shame cycle, or you're caught up in this experience of overthinking and ruminating on every interaction that you've had. What do you do about that? What do you do about changing and incorporating exposure into your life? So here's what you do. You have to think of all the 100 behaviors that you do every single day that are very, very subtle, that maintain or possibly maintain your anxiety. We don't necessarily know that for sure, but everything's an experiment. So if you have some curiosity about how your anxiety is maintained, you can start making very subtle changes by experimenting with those things. Sometimes it's as subtle as your posture. Sitting like this might maintain your anxiety, where sitting like this doesn't. Or if I shift my seat this way when I'm talking to people, that could actually maintain my anxiety. Or not making eye contact and looking down very quickly. Or asking for extra reassurance, apologizing too much. All these things lead to a lack of sense of confidence. And some people are very competent socially, but they have no confidence. So first, take stock in what you do that may maintain your anxiety, and then change it. And experiment with it and be curious about those experiences. You will still feel anxious. The goal is not to not feel bad. This is about feeling bad anyway and doing something to try and change that. So I hope that makes sense, because that is absolutely pivotal. When engaging in exposure therapy, you're essentially welcoming the distress. You're welcoming the feeling, but with more curiosity and with more acceptance that feeling bad is kind of par for the course sometimes, and that you have to endure in order to feel better. So an analogy I often use is working out. Most of us accept that you have to have muscle ache, muscle strain in order to change your physical appearance, or at least change something about when you're engaging in lifting weights or exercise or running or walking. And we're okay with that. Those of us that struggle with that struggle to hurt physically, and so we don't progress any further. So just use that analogy when engaging socially or speaking with friends or putting yourself in any situation that is anxiety provoking. So ultimately it's about leaning in, but before you lean in, really reflect on what you do based on your anxiety. The overall goal is to make decisions based out of fear, not preference. No, reverse that. The ultimate goal is to make decisions based on preference and not fear, and not give in to this anxiety monster. Anxiety is like a plant. If you feed it with sunlight and attention, it grows. If you ignore it, it dies. Try and kill your plants, and hopefully you'll overcome your anxiety. So I hope this helps. Continue to write me emails, kevin@nwanxiety.com. Please subscribe, share this. I appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. Keep fighting your fear and be brave. Thanks. Bye-bye.